All right, I want to review for you on your integer test for tomorrow. The first two are if you have a number line and it's already shaded and it asks you how to write an inequality. First of all, your variable, it doesn't matter, just give me one. The number that is circled is the number that you're going to refer to. So that was my 0. Now, if it's shaded in, we know that it is equal to, but now we need to figure out if it's greater than or less than. Well, all my numbers that are shaded are greater than the value 0, so I would put x is greater than or equal to 0. So got another one. Okay. Again, you're talking about all those shaded numbers. Pick a variable. The number that is circled is going to be your number that you're going to refer to. This one is open, so we do not have an or equal to sign down at the bottom. Now, these numbers are pointing to the left, so we know those are numbers that are smaller or less than. So my inequality there would be m is less than -1. Okay? Now, if we start to solve equations or inequalities, if we have that, the first thing you want to do is find your variable, which we know is x. You want to look at it and see what's going on with x. In this case, we are multiplying by a -2. Well, the opposite of multiplying by a -2 would be dividing by a -2. So right here, I would divide by -2. Now remember, this is your special rule. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number to get your variable by itself, then your inequality is going to change direction. So it's no longer less than, it's greater than. This cancels each other off to become just a plain 1x. And now 7 divided by -2 is -3.5. You could have kept that as an improper fraction, but I believe most time your choices will be in decimal form. Okay, let's look at another one. You have x plus 3 is greater than 12. Is less than 12. Okay, again, you're going to find your variable. What are you doing with your variable? That's what you're going to get rid of. So we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. Remember, when both sides, your inequality determines where your sides are. So here, these cancel off. X, my inequality comes down, and now we have 12 minus 3, which we know is 9. Okay? Okay, let's look at another one. If we have -81 is greater than 16 plus q. Okay, there's two ways you could work this. The first way, ideally for me, is we want to switch this. So we're going to bring this over. When you bring it over, you bring it over exactly in the order that it is. Change your inequality and put your number on the other side. Now, again, ideally, I like these two to switch. Using your commutative property, you can switch those. And now I'm ready to solve. I've done a lot of cleanup right there. So here's my variable. I'm adding 16. So to get rid of it, I would subtract 16. This disappears, so I have q is less than. Remember, this was a subtract. You can't subtract, so you're going to rewrite that as an add, a negative. So now you're adding two negatives, so you get -97. So q is less than -97. Okay. The other way you could have done it, okay, is you could have actually started from there. Now, I'm just going to copy it over. Because 16 was in the front, that means you have it. So you have to undo it. So that means somebody's going to have to take it away from you. So that means you're going to have to subtract 16. That would be gotten rid of. And now, again, you have subtract, so that's plus a negative, and you would have gotten -97. Again, some of us make mistakes when we're graphing this because we think of greater as my way I'm going to shade. No, in the end, you need to flip that around, and you still would have gotten the same answer, okay, either way that you had solved that, okay? All right, let's look at this one. Okay, this is a two-step, a multi-step inequality. So it means I have more than one operation with my variable. I want to get rid of the one that's least attached. The 4x is really closely attached, so I want to get rid of this plus 5. So that means I'm going to subtract 5. So now I have 4x is less than 16. Now I would divide by 4. I'm dividing by a positive, so therefore my answer is going to, my inequality is going to stay the same, and then I do my math. Okay. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, again, two different ways you could have done it. One, we can flip this around. We can make this a plus, a negative, and then using commutative property, flip those two around. Now, a lot of you are not doing that. A lot of you are starting from here and getting rid of things, and that's fine. But no, if your number's in front and you want to get rid of it, you're going to have to take it away. So I'm going to take away a positive 8 from both sides. Now, when I do, don't just drop that subtract sign. That actually forces this 5 to be a negative 5y. Okay? If you don't bring that negative down, it's going to cause your problem from there down to be incorrect. Now, we have negative 5 times y, so we're going to have to divide by negative 5. Because we're dividing by negative 5, we have a special rule that says my inequality changes. So I get y is equal, or y is less than negative 8. Now, on this one, we may have had a box that may have had some numbers in it. And it would have said, circle all the answers that would have made this statement correct. So what that means is, in this statement here, y is less than negative 8. So down here, I want any numbers that are less than negative 8. Well, so I would have circled negative 20, negative 12, negative 10. I would not circle negative 8 because I am not equal to negative 8. And all my other numbers are greater. So that would have been my answer there. Okay. I want to do one that contains a fraction and a decimal. Okay. Again, you're going to do the same thing. Find your variable. What am I doing with it? How do I undo it? So you're adding 3/5, so I would subtract 3/5. These cancel off. That should have been an inequality, sorry. X is less than. Now remember, you can't subtract, so you're going to change that to plus and negative. Now you're adding two negatives, and you would have gotten negative 7/5. And you can leave it improper. Next one, 2.1c is greater than 16.8. Okay. Here's your variable. We're multiplying. So to undo, we would divide. We're dividing by a positive, so my inequality stays the same. And I would get c is greater than 8. All right. On this next one, I'm going to actually write a problem down. I want you to find the mistake and correct it from that point forward. So if that was the statement that I gave you, your job is to look at it and tell me what I had done wrong. Well, When you look at it, just think about how you would solve that. Here's my variable. I'm subtracting 4. That means I have to add 4 to both sides. Well, right here was my mistake. Okay? So at that point, to correct it, you would add 4, and now my statement would be P is less than 5. Okay? All right, this next one's a word problem. All right, so I'm going to write some information. I'm not going to write it all up there for you. All right, it says, Miss Stevens needs to have her car repaired, but does not want to spend more than $225. So spend no more than $225. Now, the mechanic says that the part needed for the repair costs $78. So the part is $78. And the labor is $35 per hour. Okay, so that, because of the per, that means I'm going to be multiplying. So that means 35 times H, which we're going to call is how many hours they're going to actually work on it. And now it says, which inequality below represents the number of hours the mechanic can work without going over her budget? So basically what we're going to do is we're going to write an inequality. Well, the total cost of her car is going to include the part plus the labor. So we have 78 plus the 35H. Now, could we have written it as 35H plus 78? Yes, we can. Commutative property says I can change that around. So either way is acceptable. Now, she wants to spend no more than $225. So we know we can spend at least $225. So we know the equal sign is there. But now this can be no more than. So this is going to have to be the largest amount she can spend. So everything else needs to be less or equal to $225. Okay? If you need to, go back and rewatch some of the other old videos if you need more guidance and studying on inequalities.